Coming up on this edition of the Met Report, why you may be paying more next semester and for years to come.
And it's a masquerade. Was Metro's homecoming a hit or miss?
Hickenlooper plans to make dramatic cuts for next year, which could result in an increase in tuition for students. Welcome to this edition of the Met Report. I'm Tracy Johnson.
And I'm Lieka Bryant. This year's budget began with a four-letter word that most of us have grown to dislike: math. And this is the word that Governor Hickenlooper describes as his theme of this year's budget. Well, this year's math turns out to be no different from last year's, with more cuts in funding to the proposed areas that were promised to be saved, higher ed being one of them.
Budget meetings. Usually boring and complicated, but this year's budget meeting was different. Hickenlooper made his plan pretty simple. Cuts, cuts, and you guessed it, more cuts.
I think the challenges we face in the state are challenges we're all going to have to face.
The proposed plan will cut $395 million from the general fund, which will include a $36 million cut to higher education funding alone. This translates into $877 cut in funding per college student, which could mean an increase in student fees. Raising tuition, cut in funding, no jobs. Makes sense, right? What does the governor have to say about this?
It's math, right? And we have a structural imbalance to the budget.
How painful is it going to be? In addition to the $36 million cut to higher ed, Governor Hickenlooper proposes to cut $259 million in K-12 funding, also to cut the government employee salary.
The state budget is in K-12 education, right? Why did John Dillinger rob banks, right? It's where the money is.
Unfortunately, the state of Colorado budget forces for dramatic changes. But are these too dramatic?
Small kids who will soon be in the school system. I'm concerned about the decreased funding of K-12.
We've reduced the waste. I think we've also increased transparency and accountability. And your proposal shows the simple cuts aren't there anymore.
Despite mixed feelings, cuts will still remain the same. For the Met Report, I'm Antoinette Martin.
The SGA special elections were this week, and the Senate candidates had a debate to try and convince you, the students, to vote for them. The Met reports there shooting the story, and here are what some of the candidates would fix if they were elected.
And I think one of the issues I believe in is security. So how can we increase security? And when we talk about that, that's such a grand issue. You know, how can we do that? But as Metro State, I think it has to start from...
Currently worked on legislation right now that will require students to get out, senators to get out and actually talk to the students, because it is the student body that elects us, and it's your will that we should be doing.
There's some openings that are happening with the food court, and some contracts coming due, and we're going to be looking at bringing some new vendors in, or the options of that, maybe a Chipotle's or something that a lot of our students would like to have.
Arizona Governor Jan Brewer signed a state law banning ethnic studies classes. These courses will no longer be taught in public schools. Some people are wondering if this is unconstitutional.
Governor of Arizona Jan Brewer signed State Bill 2281, which bans ethnic studies classes from schools. They argue that these classes promote the overthrow of the United States government, promote resentment towards a race or class of people, are designed primarily for pupils of a particular ethnic group, and advocate ethnic solidarity instead of the treatment of pupils as individuals. I sat down with Metro State student Taj Taylor, who believes that ethnic studies are necessary.
I think it'll bring us together, just because you see the world through a perspective of somebody else.
But Attorney General Tom Horn disagrees.
And one of our important functions is to teach kids from different backgrounds, to treat each other as individuals, and not to infuse them with ethnic chauvinism about a particular race.
The most radical of their arguments is that it promotes the overthrow of the United States government, and here on campus, most disagree with this statement and with this ban.
Putting that in place will, lead to the overthrow of the U.S. government at all. I just think that's kind of ridiculous.
They're not trying to force anything upon you. They just want you to know other side of the story.
Learning always unites. Ignorance divides.
Do you think it's going to promote the overthrow of the U.S. government?
No.
I think it's just an excuse for racism. You can look at my syllabus, you can look at my books, you can look at all the articles I use, they're all on the internet, and you can ask any of my students that nowhere in any of my classes do I say overthrow the U.S. government.
Shayla Compian, The Met Report.
Thanks, Shayla. A unique event was held in the Tivoli Town Hall on Valentine's Day to help raise money to end suicide among GLBTQ youth. Kate Christensen has the story.
The Office of GLBT Student Services hosted Love is a Drag, Cupid Was a Fairy Too, to follow up on the It Gets Better Because I Give a Damn rally that was held here on campus last semester. Volunteers who performed donated their tips to the cause. The event was held to support the Trevor Project, which is the only GLBT suicide prevention hotline.
Love doing this. One of the drag queens this was her first time performing. So it's really nice to get other folks involved in drag and what it is and what goes on and what happens in the community.
I caught up with one of the volunteer performers and asked her why she got involved.
I work in the Office of Student Life, and I work closely with the GLBT Student Services Office, and they just asked me, and I was like, sure, I'll do it. It's a great community here, and so it was really easy, honestly, to be a part of it.
Kate Christensen, The Met Report.
Ms. Petals did say that they raised a good amount of money for the Trevor Project. If you would like more information, then you can visit thetrevorproject.org.
Well, a new program here at Metro is already experiencing great success. Compostoraria is thriving in its efforts to create a more sustainable campus with its green composting bins. The organization's goal is to promote the practice of composting both on and off campus as a critical component of sustainable society. Compostoraria started strong, but there is always room to grow.
Yeah, we've diverted a lot of waste. We get monthly reports from Waste Farmers, which is the composting service provider contracted to compost for us on campus. And so we've been diverting a lot, and obviously we want to see that increase as more education and awareness for composting increases on campus.
Love it, already composting in my house. Well, to kick off Black History Month, Michael Eric Dyson, author and TV radio personality, paid a visit to Metro State. Dyson is an acclaimed intellectual and best-selling author of the I May Not Get There With You, the True Martin Luther King Jr. book. He used humor and passion to talk to students about race theory, social issues, and immigration reform.
Whole bunch of folk ain't had no papers in the 1900s early. Late 1800s, early 1900s, Poles, Jews, Italians came over here. They couldn't even pass the same kind of litmus test they got now for Mexicans and other Spanish-speaking folk. You couldn't even pass that test.
Coming up after the break, we learn when you can see Rev Run on campus.
We'll have all the details for you.
Thanks for watching the Met Report. We'll see you on campus. And we're clear. Good job. From news on campus to news around the world, the Met Report provides stories that you want to see. But who does that, and how is it done?
The Met Report is made up of students, and any student can participate. Each semester, the Met Report looks for students who are eager and willing to learn. This is how it works. Each week, we hold a meeting where we develop story ideas that are going to air for that week. Stories are then divided up amongst the teams, and we're ready to go. Hey guys,
Once the stories are divided up, students head out in teams and gather the information for the story. Once the information is gathered, the story is then edited together for air.
Every Friday, the Met Report team comes together to broadcast the week's stories.
At the Met Report, you get real-world training, from field reporting to in-studio taping. How much time do we have?
30 seconds.
30 seconds, people.
So if you've ever been interested in news reporting or broadcasting, come check out the Met Report and see what it's all about.
Homecoming. Remember high school when we would dress up and talk about who was going to be king and queen? Well, homecoming is a little bit different here at Metro. The week started off with a parade. The carnival parade started with great energy to initiate homecoming week. They paraded throughout campus with posters and a megaphone announcing the week's activities, all while throwing colorful beaded necklaces and flyers. One woman was even shaking her tail feathers in a Brazilian samba costume. And the Joker was featured as our mascot.
What could turn our campus green, gold, and purple for the week? Only Metro State's homecoming. The evening was quite a success, despite that in the past we haven't had great attendance for Metro students. This year, the Student Government Association worked very hard to change that. All that hard work paid off, and students enjoyed the event.
Theme came from for February. You know, we have Mardi Gras. And I wanted to do something where in Colorado it's not really colorful in the winter. In February, everything's kind of dead, so I wanted to do something that had a lot of color in it. So we all just decided to do Carnival.
Metro State's homecoming boasted its best attended homecoming event yet, and it came with a heavy price tag. A huge bonfire and car bashing drew a sizable crowd. Many students were excited to beat up a vehicle, and there was live music, free food, and free Metro State t-shirts with the new fight song on the back. Renting a lot, $2,000. Hosting a bonfire, $3,000. School pride, priceless. And then there was a flash mob that turned out to be a choreographed dance to the Cupid Shuffle. Students gathered outside the Plaza building to witness the spectacle. Some were a little nervous to participate at first until the music got going. Even Student Government President Samantha O'Brien participated in the flash mob.
Well, you can't exactly fire Congress, but that doesn't seem to hinder the entrepreneur and businessman Donald Trump from considering running for the highest position in office, president. The Donald has been making rounds in the media circuit discussing the possibility of running for president of the United States. Trump has publicly announced that if he were to campaign, that he would run as a conservative Republican. An official decision is expected by June. We asked you, Metro, for your thoughts on the idea of President Trump.
Probably not. No.
Somebody who's declared bankruptcy that many times.
I wouldn't vote for him because he has a lot of money. I need money, and he's just going to get all the money that I need.
I wouldn't vote for Donald Trump for president. He's much more valuable elsewhere with real estate development.
Hip-hop artist Rev Run was supposed to come to the Auraria campus to talk to students and faculty, but because of the snowstorm that hit the East Coast, he was unable to make the trip out here. We told you that we would let you know when he would be coming back. Great news, Rev Run will be coming to Auraria to speak next Tuesday at the Event Center. Doors open at 12, so make sure you get there early to get a good seat.
Concerned about the world ending in 2012? Well, the Mayans will put your worries to rest. Metro held a workshop with the Mayan Nation to bring in the Mayan New Year, which is on February 22nd, 2011. The speakers of the workshop wish to educate students and dispel any and all rumors or misconceptions about the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012. The belief that the world ends December 21st next year is actually false. That date marks the end of the current cycle of 5,000 years and the beginning of a new one. Along with that, the speakers wanted to impart knowledge on the Auraria campus.
Welcome back. We now get the lowdown with Laura Griffith in Entertainment. Hey Laura, tell us what's happening and tell us all about the Grammys.
Colorado has a few new neighbors who have moved into a home in Weld County. Lisa Gennaro has more.
On Wednesday afternoon, 25 lions arrived at Denver International Airport to a media frenzy, complete with cheerful cries, applause, speeches, as well as celebrities. The entrance of the animals was dramatic and emotional, but just how did these animals end up all the way from Bolivia out at DIA with Bob Barker?
The successful operation was part of an enforcement by Animal Defenders International, an animal welfare group. Operation Lion Ark was the largest evacuation and rescue effort of animals from traveling circuses to ever take place in the world. Some of the circuses had refused to turn over the animals in the past and were even hiding the lions from the ADI. The group traveled across thousands of miles to rescue 14 males and 11 female lions, including 3 baby cubs, from what they called deplorable conditions, abuse, and neglect. Bolivia was the first country whose government implemented a nationwide ban on live circus animals. Actress Georgia Fox, who plays Sarah on CBS's CSI, is an ambassador for the ADI and took a large part of the recovery efforts. Financial support from The Price is Right alum Bob Barker was also a huge factor in the operation's success. The ADI began enforcing this in November. The animals arrived in Denver to live in their new home, the Wild Animal Sanctuary, which is located in Weld County. These 25 lucky animals will have 80 acres to roam free here in Colorado. For the Met Report, I'm Lisa Gennaro.
I'm Lieka Bryant for Tracy Johnson and Paul Meyer and everyone here at the Met Report. We'll see you on campus.